Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. This episode is themed like worst best friends ever in the world of all time. So let's get right into the episode. Also, get your drinks out. I'm drinking a half calf right now because I've been really cutting down on my caffeine, as you guys know. So let me know what you're drinking in the comments below. The title of the first story is Am I the Asshole for Refusing to Attend My Best Friend's Wedding After She Tried to Steal My Fiancé? Okay, so this might sound like something out of a soap opera, but I swear it's all true, and I need advice. I, 28 female, have been best friends with Shelby, 29 female, for over 10 years. We met in college and hit it off right away. We've been inseparable ever since. Haven't gone more than 3 days without hanging out. This is my sister's soulmate. We've been through so much together. Boyfriends, breakups, career changes, you name it. She's been my absolute best friend, and I thought the world of her. I'm getting married to Ethan, 29 male, this summer in July, and I'm really excited, but here's where things get messy. Some months ago, Shelby and I were out for drinks, and we started talking about relationships as we do. I've always been open with Shelby about Ethan and how much I love him. He's honestly my other half, and we've been dating for 4 years, and we're really solid. No issues. But out of literal nowhere, Shelby started asking weirdly personal questions about him, like details about our sex life, our future plans, how often we argue, etc. At first, I thought it was just typical curiosity or girl talk, so I answered her questions, thinking it was no big deal. Then things started to go more uncomfortable. Shelby started slowly texting me a lot more about Ethan, asking about his plans, where he would be, what he was up to, even things like, does he like to do X on weekends? It was so strange, but I brushed it off. The bombshell came when I went on a weekend trip with Ethan to visit his family out of state. When we returned, I found out that Shelby had sent Ethan a very flirtatious text. He showed it to me, clearly uncomfortable, but unsure how to handle it. She was commenting on how handsome he looked in a recent photo I posted and how she was thinking of him lately. Ethan told me he immediately ignored it. But it still didn't sit right with me. I decided to confront her about it. When I asked her about the text, she became super defensive and claimed that it was just a joke and that she wasn't trying anything. She told me she was just complimenting him and insisted she had no bad intentions. At the time, I chose to believe her, but I was uneasy. This has never happened before. Never showed interest in Ethan over the years. I never even knew he was her type, so I brushed it off. A few weeks later, Shelby invited me to a casual hangout at her place with multiple friends. I arrived and I bring Ethan too. We're all taking shots, listening to music, and playing drunken games. A few hours go by. I see Ethan walk back to the house looking uneasy and said he was smoking outside when he ran into Shelby and ended up having an awkward conversation. He said Shelby had been very touchy with him, asking him personal questions, talking about how strong he looked in a picture I posted on Instagram. He told me he was uncomfortable, but didn't want to say anything to me in the moment because he didn't want to hurt my feelings or make me emotional at the kickback. Touching? At this point, I was really furious, so I confronted Shelby the next morning. After hours of crying and multiple lies, she admitted that she's been developing small feelings for Ethan but claimed she never planned to act on them. She tried to gaslight me, saying they were intrusive thoughts that she couldn't control. She apologized and said she was just going through some emotional stuff and wasn't thinking straight. She told me she loved me like a sister and would never do anything to hurt me. I was crushed. This wasn't some small mistake. This was a betrayal of the highest order. My best friend, someone who I trusted with everything, my life almost, was harboring feelings for my fiancé and had been acting on them, whether she realized it or not. All this time, was she plotting on me for years? That she could steal my man? How could I not see her being a snake? Shelby was always boy crazy, but never did I think she would ever try anything with Ethan. We are each other's number one best friends. How could she think to do this to me? I told her I needed some space from her. She begged me not to end our friendship over something so small, but I couldn't shake the feeling of the complete betrayal. I've always been the one who supported her through struggles, but now I'm left questioning if she even respected our friendship in the first place. I don't have many close friends, so I valued this friendship deeply, so deeply. I was naive enough to forgive her. We still text awkwardly, but it's clear we aren't as close. I don't know why I'm still nice enough to keep holding on, but here's the kicker. She's now getting married to someone else, someone she's been dating on and off for years, and her wedding is in 8 months. She texted me a few weeks ago asking me to be her maid of honor. I was floored. After everything that's happened, she still expects me to stand by her on such a monumental day of her life, like nothing happened. Just forget it, right? I told her I couldn't do it. I finally said I couldn't support someone who tried to sabotage my relationship. She called me sensitive and a bad friend and said that I was overreacting and that she would never do anything to intentionally hurt me. Now she's telling our collegiate mutual friends that I'm being selfish, and of course, some of them are taking her side, saying I should forgive her and move on for the sake of our long friendship. And friends aren't that easy to come by. But I just can't. I've never felt so disrespected in my life. But I'm torn. No one cheated, so am I really overreacting? Am I the asshole for refusing to be in her wedding and ending the friendship after everything that happened over what seemed so small and careless? No, because it's not something that's so small and careless, and that's like the bottom line. I mean, immediately it's obvious that she was trying to steal your fiance. Like, I don't know, steal. She was making passes to see what she could get away with. And if he would have entertained that, then I'm sure it would have gone farther. But obviously, since he didn't and he's a good guy, then it didn't. But everyone knows that her making those advances towards him is like a test to see how he reacts back and if he's gonna be interested. And then after that, if he was, they'd for sure do something more than just whatever. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad he didn't, like, it's just funny to me that she went out of her way to do that over text and then also in person and just like kept on doing it. And also, I feel like for this girl that wrote this for OP, I think the first mistake was like forgiving her in the first place, because I think that kind of just like swept things under the rug, and then it kind of validated the other girl that like, oh, it wasn't as bad as like it really was made out to seem, because she forgave me, like everything's fine. And then I think that skewed her perception, and at the end of the day made her think like, you're overreacting, like this is, you forgave me, so obviously it wasn't that big of a deal, right? I feel like she should have stood her ground and in the first place just not accepted that type of behavior from a friend. I know that I wouldn't, and I know that it would be so awkward, especially because like I feel like everyone's experienced friendship breakups, and it's like a very common thing because as you grow older and you're you're making new friends, you're maybe slowly getting out of other friendships, and then sometimes you have like the actual friendship breakups that are actually like a breakup and not just like a slow burn out, if that makes sense. And I feel like when I've gotten in friendship, like when I've had friendship breakups before, it immediately, like that fight that we have, that's kind of like the end of the friendship. Even if, because I have had like big fights where it's like, okay, we kind of stop being as close after that, and then we kind of make up after that. I don't know if that makes sense, but we're so okay. I've had friendship breakups where it's like we think, like I would think that this is the end of a friendship, and then we end up like becoming friends again after that, so like pretty quickly after that, and like forgiving each other, and then it's like awkward from then on out, and like the friendship just changes. It's like a completely different dynamic, and it just never gets back to the way that it used to be, no matter like what it's over. I mean, I've had pointless friendship breakups like that. It's just all, I think it all really came down to us spending too much time together, and we just like did everything together to the point where it was like so unhealthy, and we were so enmeshed that we just like kind of went our separate ways for no reason. But it did kind of like happen not in the most amicable way. It wasn't anything crazy, but it definitely wasn't like where we would be like, hey, want to get a coffee or anything. Like we were pretty surefire, like the friendship was over after that. But I don't know. You're not the asshole, obviously, and I think that you should have ended the friendship way earlier than that. That's my advice. But obviously you can't end it. You can't go back and end it. So now I would end it and just let her know that like that wasn't such a small thing. That is really messed up, and the fact that she thinks it's a small thing is crazy. And I would just stand your ground as much as possible so that she knows what she did was wrong. And if she doesn't think what she did was wrong, then maybe over the years of losing you, after losing you, she'll finally come to her senses and be like, okay, I guess I really did mess up. Because I'm sure deep down she knows that it wasn't right to do that. Because I think anyone does, unless you like completely lack self awareness. All right, let's read some comments. Not the asshole. She crossed serious boundaries with your fiance and betrayed your trust. Asking you to be her maid of honor after that is disrespectful. You have every right to set boundaries and protect your relationship. OP said true. I feel foolish. I've thought about just mending things because she's getting married now, so there will be no more boy drama. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss the friendship. Someone said she didn't care that he was engaged. She didn't care that you're his best friend, that you're her best friend. Why in God's name would she just stop because she's married? Not the asshole, but if you try to mend the friendship, that's your own fault. I agree. I think I get it. I get missing a friendship, but unfortunately, after someone does something like that to you, it's never going to be the same. Like, it's truly never going to be the same. You're never going to be able to feel that connection with that person again the way that you did before any of that stuff happened. Someone said, you're not foolish for missing a friendship, but don't ignore the red flags. If she's willing to jeopardize your relationship once, she could easily do it again. Protect yourself. Yeah, and of course, like, this is just like textbook. Everyone knows that usually you're in relationships and friendships, your brain tends to only remember the good times, and you have to like truly make an effort to remember the bad times, which is why it's like so easy sometimes, not easy, but so common sometimes for people to go back to like abusive partners or even abusive friendships or abusive households. And it's like you remember the good times only, and it's like almost as if your brain completely blocks out the bad times. And it's like you have to truly, truly, truly try to dredge up those memories, because I'm sure it's like, I don't know, but I'm sure it's like some kind of trauma response. Because even and then I think as time goes on and you kind of get out of that phase of having like those rose colored glasses on and only remembering the good times, then you start to realize, oh, wait, yeah, that wasn't. Because even sometimes I still like, I'll remember good times that I had with my exes, and it's not like I'm like, oh, I want them back. But, you know, obviously anyone that's like impacted your life or been in your life for multiple years at a time, there's going to be random things that like pop up that you'll be like, oh, like that was so fun that time we did this. But then ultimately I'm like, that relationship was so bad. But obviously you can still have good times with people that are no longer in your life, or even people that weren't the best to you in your life or didn't treat you the best, if that makes sense. But yeah. Okay. We're going to move on to the next story. The title is My 32 female gay best friend, 35 male, tried to sleep with my husband, 35 male. How do I move on? So the title pretty much sums it up. Saturday night, my husband, best friend, and I went out for drinks. My husband and I got unusually drunk, to the point where he blacked out. In our 5 years together, he's never blacked out. And he can drink. Anyway, I ended up passing out on the living room floor when we got home, and we're just hanging out at the end of the night. My husband says he also fell asleep and woke up with my friend on top of him, kissing him, and trying to sleep with him. My husband pushed him off, woke me up, and told me it was time for bed. My friend left, and I got really upset at my husband for wanting to go upstairs, so he went without me. My friend said bye to me and acted like everything was normal. He even texted me the next morning about something totally unrelated, again, acting totally normal. I'm having a lot of feelings. I'm angry and disgusted at my friend who I invited into my home to violate my husband and my marriage. I'm sad and feel so guilty. I can't look at my husband without a flurry of emotions bubbling up. I don't know what to say or do. That friendship is obviously over, but how do I help my husband through this? And how do I stop the intrusive thoughts that have me questioning everything? Obviously, that is a completely different situation because your husband was SA'd, unfortunately. And I hate that that's what this story came to, because I wish that I could have been a little bit of a trigger warning before that, because I didn't realize it was going to be something like that. But um, I would, to be totally honest, if I were in this situation, I would put my feelings aside completely to help my husband, because even if he's not showing that like he feels badly about the situation, not like badly as in he feels guilty, but I'm sure he feels like, whoa, I was just violated. That was so crazy. Like, I woke up and was literally, someone was on top of me, like, against my will. And I think he's, I think anyone is affected by that, right? Like, anyone is affected by being violated and essayed like that, even if they seem to be strong and they seem to be not bothered by it. So I feel like for me, obviously, ending that friendship, being like, cutting that shit off so quick and literally blocking from everything and like never speaking to that human again, because that's truly disgusting. Like, he is actually so like a terrible person for doing that. And then I would just try to help my husband as much as I could and just like let him know that I'm here if he needs to talk, and that I don't obviously blame him, because I'm sure a lot of people like blame themselves for that kind of stuff. And although it didn't go like super far, it still is very unsettling that that kind of thing happens. And especially if like if he was maybe even more drunk and he wasn't like able to wake up, then what would have happened, you know? Like, what would have happened if he didn't wake up? Would this guy just keep going with his unconscious body? Like, that's truly terrifying. So I would try to help my husband know that it's okay to feel badly about this and to need to get over it, and possibly even visiting a professional if that's something that he's comfortable with. But let's read some comments. Someone said, he tried to R word your husband. He didn't try to sleep with him. You should look into pressing charges. Even the forced kissing is assault. OP said, right? My husband isn't getting it. I told him, how would you feel if I told you I woke up to one of your friends trying to stick his D in me while I was asleep? And he said, I didn't think of it like that. Well, yeah, because that's just a typical thing that men do, is like usually when they're essayed, they don't think of it like that. And I'm sure deep down they do, but like at the end of the day, I think they just kind of, even with women, like men, even a lot of the times ignore that like, because you'll see stories where men will be like, oh my god, you cheated on me. Like, no, I was actually essayed, I didn't cheat on you, you know? Because I feel like, I don't know, for some reason, and obviously I think it's getting better, but in society I feel like a lot of the time like getting essayed and R worded is just something that is so, a lot of people tend to make it less of a deal than it really is. Am I saying that right? Like, men tend to, what is the word? Like, they want to minimize it, or they just think of it as like a minimal thing. Like, it's not that big of a deal, because I feel like, I don't know, but you get what I mean. Okay. Someone said, are you sure you both just drank too much, or is there any chance he may have added something to one of your drinks, or did he urge you and your husband to drink more than normal? What I'm getting at is if there are any clues that this was something your ex-friend planned ahead of time, or did he just take advantage of the extra drinks both of you had that night? And then someone said, came here to say this. Husband can drink like a fish, has never blacked out, but suddenly does in the presence of someone who took advantage of his blacked out self. Nasty little predator. If he hadn't have woken up, the friend would have likely R-worded him. He likely pre-planned this scenario. That's what I was saying. That's really scary to think about. And I'm so glad that didn't happen. Okay, I'm going to read this because I feel like this is important. I'm not really sure exactly what it says, but I feel like it might contradict some of the things I just said with, I don't know, because you know, I'm saying like I would want to help my husband, but I think this is kind of like a good way to go about it, but I'm not really sure 100% what it says yet, so we're going to read it together. Okay. Someone said, gently, as a survivor of SA, it's really, really good that you recognize it for what it is, but please don't push your husband too hard in the immediate aftermath to acknowledge that he was SA'd. It's super important that you have acknowledged it and that you continue to make it clear to your husband that you are fully supportive, that it's not his fault, and that you're there for him. But sometimes people who have been sexually assaulted aren't immediately ready to name what happened to them as assault because it's such an overwhelming, upsetting idea. And this goes double for men, who not only have to deal with what was done to them, but with the societal stigma and shaming around being victims, which is obviously bullshit. Men are socialized to be strong and tough. To admit that they have been victimized can really do a number on their mental health, on top of the actual assault. It's really good that you've opened the door for him to know that there's no shame from you, his partner, about what happened. Now, I would give him a little bit of time to come to terms with it. It may not be that he doesn't get it, but that his mind isn't ready to face it yet. He's very lucky to have such a supportive wife, though. Okay. I think I said kind of something along those lines, right? I was saying, like, obviously let him know that it's not his fault and that you support him and that you want to be there for him. But obviously, I've never been through a situation like that, so I do think that it would be hard for me, and I'm glad that I just read that because just in case, because I do feel like I would be kind of wanting to like open their eyes to this and be like, well, how come you don't realize that this is what happened to you? And so I feel like that's good information to know, to like, if I were to ever have to deal with that kind of situation, which God forbid, and I hope I never do. But yeah. Okay. We're going to move on to the next story. And this one has multiple updates. So we're going to be here for a second. I'm going to take a drink of my half calf because I'm going to the gym after this. And I need to have a little bit of energy because I was definitely feeling like a little bit tired and slummed this morning. All right. This is the title of the next story. Am I overreacting for not wanting my husband's best friend near after what I found out? I feel like I'm going crazy and I need a fresh perspective before taking the next step. I discovered that my husband, male 37, and his best friend, female 36, had a sexual relationship that lasted throughout high school, years, and multiple relationships. Apparently, it was a known secret in their circle of friends. Let me start from the beginning. I met my husband during the last year of college. He comes from a very small town and has the same group of friends since elementary school. I used to find it endearing, now I feel sick. His best friend, female 36, used to be his desk mate in kindergarten. He used to talk about her a lot before I met her. Mostly fun anecdotes and childhood memories. Honestly, I was a bit jealous at the beginning. He had all these memories and shared friends with her. He even had a special nickname for her, Pokey. I let go of my worries when I met her. Pokey was not like the horrible female best friend in the movies. She was always supportive and sweet. She's a cake designer and she gifted us our wedding cake and made a beautiful speech. Still, there was a part of me that always felt a bit uneasy. Me and my husband never really talked about our past relationships, mostly because I didn't want to focus on the past, but in general, from what he let slip, he was a bit of an a-hole as a teenager. In particular, his friends sometimes talk about how it's incredible their friend group survived the summer of madness. I always assumed that some kind of high school drama happened, and that was it until I discovered what it was about. I was out with one of my husband's friend's wife, Gertrude. Gertrude told me something about how she admired me for being so secure in my marriage, even with the one that got away in the picture. I was confused. I told her that I didn't understand what she was talking about, and then she told me, "Oh, I thought you knew about Pokey and Maurice, my husband." I think I died a little hearing that. She proceeded to tell me about how they basically slept together through high school years, how Pokey was my husband's first everything, and how they cheated on every single boyfriend and girlfriend they had during that period with each other. The famous Summer of Madness was the last summer of high school. Apparently, the whole group was fighting because some were done with their behavior while others kept covering for them. What's worse is that it all ended because Pokey put a stop to it. She chose a college away from their hometown and stopped talking to my husband for a whole year. After the revelation, I confronted Pokey. I shouldn't have, but I was so angry and humiliated. I don't want her near me or my husband. I keep thinking about how they shared everything and how not even our intimacy is truly ours. It drives me insane. She obviously told my husband, and we've been fighting ever since then. He's telling me over and over that there's nothing between him and Pokey. In his opinion, I'm overreacting to something that happened almost 20 years ago and has been closed and dead. But I feel like I can never trust the two of them together. Am I wrong? Okay. I feel like it's so, oh, that's such a hard, like, that's so hard because obviously they've been friends since kindergarten. So it's not like you can be like, you can't be friends with that person anymore. But then at the same time, it's like not only have they been friends, but that's also his ex. But the thing is that at the end of the day, it was almost 20 years ago. And that's like, I can't imagine. I can imagine being uncomfortable with it. I can, especially because he didn't tell her any of this, which is the first mistake. I feel like that's the first mistake that makes you not trust the person, because if there's truly nothing going on and there's truly no feelings and there's truly nothing left, he should have told her so that it was like, obviously there is something big within their friend group, right? I mean, I don't know, because the more I think about it, I'm like, I'm not gonna be telling my boyfriend like every person that I've slept with, and like if I was around that person again, like obviously I would never be alone with someone, that I would never be like going and hanging out with someone that I had a past with or was an ex or like had past hookups with. I would never be like, let's go hang out and go to the beach together, just me and you, obviously. But I'm still like in high school, obviously, like I still have my group of friends from high school. I still am friends with all those people. So yeah, when I go home and visit, do I see people? Do we hang out in groups of people? Yes, because that's just what happens in high school. Like you have a group of friends, and typically you hook up with a few of the guys or maybe one of the guys. I don't know. But so, I don't know, like, I wouldn't think that it was necessary to be, unless he asked specifically, like, "Hey, do you have history with any of these people, and what is it?" Then I would be like, "Oh, yeah, this and this and this, blah, blah, blah. This is what happened." But otherwise, like, I wouldn't feel the need to be like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I slept with this person a bunch of times, and we had a thing," or, like, we dated. I don't know. Does that make sense? And I'm only 26, and high school still feels like so long ago, when really at the end of the day it was only 8 years ago that I graduated high school, and it's like none of that stuff matters to me anymore. Like it's so far gone that I just feel like it's so silly. And I don't think my boyfriend would even care, like if he did ask and I was like, "Oh yeah, like I used to hook up with this one." Or something. I don't think he would care. He'd be like, "Oh my God." You know? Does that make sense? I don't know. I think that I understand because they have this whole thing where it's like they cheated on every partner that they had with each other, but that was in high school. That was in high school. It was in high school. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Let's read some of the comments and see what other people are feeling, because I do think she possibly might be overreacting a little bit. Okay. Someone said, "What happened when OOP confronted Pokey? Whose idea was the wedding speech?" Oh, ew, that's weird that she gave a wedding speech. Okay. OOP said, "She was surprised but calm, which made me even more mad. She told me she thought my husband had told me about it and was not her place to talk about it. Then she told me to talk to my husband, but that unless he's told her to stay low contact, she would not do anything. She was his best man, so yeah." Oh, what? What? That's weird. You, that's weird. You don't need that. You don't need that. That's so weird. Why would you do that? I don't like that at all. Because the nature of their relationship was purely like hooking up as soon as they got older, right? I mean, they were childhood friends, so that makes it different. That's so hard to say because I'm not in that situation. I don't have a friend that I was like best friends with in kindergarten and then I ended up hooking up with him throughout high school and like we were long lost lovers or whatever. But I just think that stuff like from when you were younger, especially when you're at this age, like they're older. So I just feel like it just doesn't mean as much, and they're fully married to each other. Like it's just different, but let's keep reading these comments. How long into the relationship did OP meet Pokey, and was that a sexual nickname? She said, "No, it's something from their childhood. Just Maurice and her father call her that. I met her after a couple of months with the other friends." Did Maurice and Pokey date? OP said they never dated, according to Gertrude, but also my husband. The whole situation was pretty toxic. All I hear from him are excuses. Some are even valid, but I feel like it just makes the situation worse. He calls me honey most of the times. I used to think the whole pokey thing was cute and wholesome. Now I feel a bit foolish. How did the husband react to OP's request to cut contact / go low contact with Pokey? OP said the thing is their group of friends are very, very close. I was not used to that. Pokey works at a bakery and everyone, Maurice too, goes there for breakfast and lunch break. They have game nights and movie nights and brunches and dinners, so they see each other a lot. Pokey lives down the road, and she and Maurice take the dogs out every evening. Maurice told me to not make him choose, that he barely remembers a time when he didn't have her in his life, that it should not come to this. Oh God. Oh no. Spiraling. I don't know. I feel like just don't be alone together. And I think that's just out of the respect of your relationship, knowing that you guys have a sexual history. You just shouldn't be alone together. But that's not to say that you guys can't still hang out in your group of friends, and you can't still be friends with your group of friends. Okay, there's more. OP on Pokey's background. Was she married? Did Pokey's ex know about her past? Does OP have kids with her husband? OP said she was married. She and her ex divorced a couple of years ago. She wanted children. He didn't. It wasn't pretty. Apparently, her ex knew. She's not dating at the moment, but she dated a guy briefly in the past. No, me and Maurice are child free. Okay. Additional information from OP after reading comments. Okay, so a lot of people are asking me why I got angry at Pokey and not my husband. First, I am angry at Maurice. I can barely stand in the same room. Second, I feel childish, but I was and I am jealous of her. I didn't grow up like Maurice. I barely remember the people I went to high school with. To me, friends are something different. He had this girl that knew every single thing about him, that shared adventures and Christmases and birthdays, family and friends. It was a lot. I knew she was important to him, so I tried my best. I thought that at least I had his love first. Turns out she had that too. I was mad. Was it right? No. But in that moment, she was the focus of my rage. No. Wait. No, and it drives me insane. Why can't he say that he was in love with her? It's plain she was his first love, but no, I don't get it and am delusional. They were kids and confused. F that. What's confusing about ditching your friends and your girlfriend for a summer in order to bang your best friend? Gertrude told me about the castle of lies he spun around that poor girl. I feel sick thinking about it. Oh my gosh, okay. There's more, guys. There's updates. We're going to read the first update. I'm excited about this. I feel like I'm watching a show right now. Am I overreacting for not wanting my husband's best friend near after what I found out? Update number 1. Hi, guys. First of all, thanks for all the response, the messages, and the support I got. Currently, I feel like I don't really have friends I can trust, but at least I can have some validation from you. There's a link to the previous post if you need it. So I have a small update and things don't look good. I had a pretty big fight with my husband last night. He went to the usual Friday game night. Some of you asked me about that. He and his friends had 2 type of game nights. One is normally on Fridays, as most of them don't work during the weekend. It's a group thing and they play some kind of D&D. Usually it's hosted by Andrew, male 37, who is the master of the campaign. Then there are sporadic game nights in which some of them play video games and chat. In that case, the numbers of people are variable. As I said last night, Maurice went to play D&D. I asked if Pokey would be there. He was annoyed and told me yes. I asked if he had seen her these days. He told me that he went to get coffee with some of the guys and that Thursday he went to grab lunch. I was pissed, so I raised my voice and asked why he can't stay away from her for at least now. He told me, and I quote, I can, but I'm not going to cater to your tantrum. I didn't do anything, so I'm not going to act like I'm guilty of something. I reiterated that I don't want her in our life now that I know, and he asked me, what do I want him to do? He said it's a small town and we're neighbors. All of my friends are her friends. Unless we move, we are going to have contacts. So I told him that maybe we should move. Maybe we should start over in a place where I can trust people. He told me I'm insane, that he's not going to sell his grandma's house that he loves and move somewhere away from his family and friends just because I feel insecure and to grow the F up. I stormed in our room and he went to his friends. When he came back, he started gaming on the PS instead of coming to bed. I could hear him talk, so I went to the living room. I asked him who he was playing with. I kid you not, he was playing COD and chatting with Pokey and Andrew. He was with her just a couple of hours before. I asked him to come to bed. He told me he had to finish the game and that he needed to vent frustration. I'm not proud of me, but I raised my voice again and said something like, can you even breathe without seeing her for 10 minutes? He didn't even look at me. He just told me, if you're going to make a scene, tell me now so I can turn off the mic. I slept in the guest room. This morning, Joe Kim, the friend that works in my office, came and talked to me. Apparently, Maurice has told them everything Friday because he was venting. He told me that Gertrude thrives in drama, and that's why she opened that can of worms. He assured me that there's nothing between Pokey and Maurice, and that this situation will become an issue if I make it one. I asked him what he meant, and he told me, you married him. You know how he is. Maurice is like emotionally dependent on Pokey or whatever. If she killed someone, he would dig a hole and help her hide the body. If you want this marriage to work, just learn to coexist. I asked him if he thinks Maurice still loves Pokey. He told me that maybe I should ask my husband because he doesn't know. At this point, I just can't let this go. I feel like a crazy paranoid woman, but I just can't let this go. I asked Gertrude out for lunch Wednesday. I begged her to tell me everything she knows because I need to know. Still, I'm scared of what I'll learn. Oh my God. Okay. It's just getting deeper and deeper. And the more that it goes on, it is like, okay, come on. Can you set boundaries at least just to make me more comfortable than show me that, like, you don't need her every minute of your life? Like, just show me that you would be okay if you like didn't see her for a while. I don't know. That's so hard, guys. I'm really struggling with this because I totally understand where he's making her feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, I don't agree that he should have to cut her off completely. But do I think that it is a little bit enmeshed and it's a little bit of a toxic, like, codependency that he has on this woman that he shouldn't have? Because I don't think that, like, typically, especially when you're married, I don't think that you should be going outside of your marriage for, like, validation from another woman. And that's where I think that he's going wrong. But I do think that if there was some, like, good boundaries set, it would make the wife feel more comfortable. It's just so hard because I don't think it's fair for him to have to, like, cut her out of his life completely because obviously that's, like, impossible. Like, they have all the same friends. They've been friends since they were 4 years old, and they are just so intertwined in their lives, and that would be, like, exactly what he said. Like, you would have to move away, and to move away just because of that is I think it's insane. I think that would be insane. Like, oh, you want to just uproot, and also he would probably end up resenting her, and then that's a whole nother story where their relationship would crumble to pieces because if he doesn't want to move, and you would be forcing him to sell his grandma's house and move away from all of his family and friends just because of this one woman, that is a little ridiculous to me. Like, I don't think that that is necessary, but I do think that he could be better about the situation, and I do think he could handle it a lot more maturely, and I think that he could make her feel a lot more secure than he's making her feel, and that's where the problem lies, is in the way that, like, it's being handled. Okay, let's read some top comments. Commenter 1, unfortunately, your husband made his choice and he chose Pokey, so now you need to make yours. It's a shame that he did this to you. He's a piece of shit and you deserve better and you will find better. Commenter 2 said, I mean, it sounds when push comes to shove, Pokey is the relationship he values. Has he done anything to make you feel secure in this marriage, or is it just stop overreacting and having tantrums? Can you go visit friends and family out of town for a bit? Maybe some space will give you and him some perspective. He can realize what he is truly giving up for a woman who rejected him years ago. Commenter 3 said, I'm really sorry, but it's time to leave. He can stay away from her, but won't cater to your tantrum. That right there is the nail in the coffin of your relationship. He doesn't care about your feelings. There is no way to sugarcoat that. You're not insane, but you do need to get away from him. At best, this man is a liar, and at worst, a manipulative prick, and probably worse. I have no idea what the relationship with this woman is, but whatever it is, it matters more than your marriage. Time to cut and run. You are never going to be his first. He really is a POS. Edit to say it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what Gertrude tells you. Your husband has already told you all you need to know. You don't matter. Commenter 4 said he doesn't respect you. Why would you want to exist in this relationship unless you want to be polyamorous? Your husband is absolutely in a relationship with this other woman. Just tell him you're done and want a divorce. That you can't live feeling like a mistress in your own marriage. I don't like ultimatums, but you've tried and tried to get him to see your side and he won't, so leave. Ugh. See, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that there's a better solution, but unfortunately, obviously, if he's not going to abide by the solution or even try to come up with a solution other than just like telling her that she's overreacting, that's where it becomes a problem. Because there could be I think there could be an easy little communication situation that they could really work out while he also still gets to like be friends but set boundaries with this woman and show that he obviously loves and would choose his wife over this woman, right? Guys, I'm stressed, but there's another update, so let's read it. Am I overreacting for not wanting my husband's best friend near after what I found out? Update 2. Hi guys, first of all, thank you for all the messages in the chat a lot of you sent me. Thank you for checking on me. I'm sorry I didn't reply, and also for updating so late, but I needed some time to think and sort myself. For those of you who are new, there's a link for my previous post if you're interested. Some of you pointed out how I was spiraling and acting kind of crazy. You were right, I was. It was hard to admit that I was doing as much damage as Maurice in this situation, and it was even harder to realize that maybe our marriage has more issue than what I thought. I'll start by saying that I never went to that lunch. After our fight that Friday night, my husband spent Saturday at his mother's house. She lives 30 minutes from us with her new husband. He stayed there the whole day, and I discovered from his story on Instagram that he took his two step siblings to the laser game and then to dinner. He also took them to Pokey Bakery for dessert. I was livid but resigned at this point. He had clearly said that he didn't care for my discomfort, so it's not like I was expecting much. I ignored him when he came back later that evening. I just didn't want to fight again. He came to me and told me that we should talk. When I didn't say anything, he told me that he was sorry for being an asshole the day before, that he had started to sound like his father and he hated that, and the last thing he wanted for our marriage to be like was the one that his parents had. I told him that he dismissed my feelings and that by still going to Pokey, he kept doing it and that I felt completely disrespected. I tried to explain as calmly as I could how hurt I was to know that A, about their past relationship by someone else, and B, that everyone around me knew and never told me anything up until now. I explained that I felt like a stranger because our friends suddenly reminded me that they were his friends with their behavior and that I feel like I can't trust anyone around me because no one told me the truth. Then I asked him point blank if he still loves Pokey, and that's why he kept everything a secret. And that's when he told me the truth, and oh boy, was I not ready. Maurice basically confessed that he had loved Pokey like crazy, like let's elope even if we're 16 and stupid level of crazy. But his parents were divorcing during that time and it was incredibly ugly and violent. So his teenager mind decided that love was dangerous, that by having a relationship, you lose the people you love. Ergo, never have a relationship with someone important to you. In his case, Pokey. He admitted that it was stupid, but he said I was not exactly the smartest kid. He couldn't stay away, but he also couldn't bear to lose her if an eventual relationship would implode, so they stayed in this limbo until the summer of madness. Pokey was already pretty tired of the situation, but then she discovered that she was pregnant. It was Maurice's because at the time she was single, and as stupid teenagers, they weren't using protection. I was already shocked at this, but to hear my child-free husband say that he had wanted a baby in that moment Pokey showed up in his room with a drugstore test left me speechless. So I asked what happened, and he told me that 2 weeks after finding out, she lost the baby. They were still trying to come up with a way to talk to their families in his room when it happened. She got appendicitis, and somehow it got her tubes inflamed and caused her pregnancy loss. He told me that his worst memory is calling Pokey's mom and his mom from the hospital while hearing Pokey's cries from behind the door of her room. Maurice also told me that that was pretty much the moment he became child free. He told me, I never want to hear someone I love cry like that ever again. Also, because of that pregnancy loss, it has become impossible for Pokey to have children without planning and medical help. That's why her divorce was so brutal. Most of their friends don't know. They still think that she just got appendicitis. Maurice told me that after what happened, she ran off to uni avoiding him and pretty much the whole town for a year. He told me how confused and lonely he felt and how much he missed her. Not the girl he loved, but his best friend. The one who knew me better than myself and that I could always count on, is what he said. So when she reached out, when Maurice's grandma just died, he pretty much promised her that they'll never put themselves in a situation like that again, that they'll just be friends and nothing more, and that's what they have been. He told me that he'll always love her, but that whatever they had is done, and he married me and loves me, and that's what should matter. When I asked him if he was willing to see Pokey less and have a different kind of friendship for my sake, he told me that while he loves me, he values his friends enough to not cut them off. He told me that after 13 years together, I should know this about him. So I told him that after 13 years, I should matter enough. I packed a bag and I told him I was going to visit my parents because I needed time. And that's where we are. I took some time from work and I'm still at my parents'. It was a lot and I still don't know how to feel. I'm mostly empty. Oh my God, he's literally the worst at handling this situation. Just say yes and say you'll limit time with her because you love your wife. Because obviously you're not choosing your. Now I'm getting annoyed. Now I'm getting annoyed. And like I was a little bit more neutral before this one, but now I'm annoyed because she's asking you if you can, like, you can still be friends with her, but you can try to have a different type of friendship out of respect for your marriage because of this history, especially now knowing all of this new information. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now I'm way more on her side, and now I can totally understand how he's making her feel so little and so insecure, and like she doesn't even matter in the marriage. Like, you're telling me that you can't. I understand how important friendships are, okay? Especially lifelong friendships that you have forever. But when you pick a partner and you marry them, that is a completely different commitment. If all is said and done, if you wouldn't choose your wife over this woman that you've been friends with, like, so God forbid that happens where you have to like truly make a choice between the two of them. That just shows a lot. Like, you should be choosing your wife. You should be choosing your wife over this woman. And she's not even saying that you need to cut her off whole at like a complete stop. She's saying just like change your friendship, be around her less. Don't go to her fucking bakery every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks in between. Like, please just lower the amount of time you guys hang out and just like change your friendship a little bit, change the dynamics so that I'm not uncomfortable in this marriage. Because if you truly love me like you say you do, and you truly love me like I'm your wife, you should be willing to do that. You should be willing to do that to make our marriage work. And he's clearly showing her that she's not important enough, and that if anything, if Pokey's not above her in importance, they're the same level, and that is not okay. That is not okay. Bye. Bye. I was supportive and now I'm like, divorce. Divorce. So annoying. So annoying. Like, you shouldn't have to fight this hard to get someone to finally see, like, why you're uncomfortable and why you feel insecure. And clearly he knows. And obviously, yeah, he was apologizing. And I was like, oh my God, thank God he's like finally apologizing. He's seeing why she's uncomfortable. And then, boom, he hits me with, no, I love my friends. I don't love you more than my friends. What? Weird. You're not married to your friends? Ugh. Okay. Let's read the top comments. Commenter 1, if you're going to stay with him, you have to accept that you'll always come second. He told you that and showed you that every time he went with her. Listen to what he says. If nothing else, at least he's honest. Commenter 2, his whole outlook on life revolves around his deep love for Pokey and everything they experienced together. Good for you for standing your ground and walking away for some time to reflect. I wouldn't know how to move forward from here. I would probably wish him and Pokey the best and walk away for good. But F it would be devastating at the same time. Staying would too. I wish happiness and peace for you. You deserve better. Commenter 3 said you asked him to change the dynamics of his friendship with Pokey and he just said no. Just divorce him at this point and gain some peace of mind. You'll always be pitting this friendship against your marriage. If you had known the extent of their relationship beforehand, then you wouldn't have married him. Now that you know the truth, make a clean break and find someone else that loves you first and foremost. It sounds like your husband and Pokey need to go to counseling together to work on past trauma. They would probably have a future together. Commenter 4, this man is literally choosing to put his high school sweetheart on a pedestal. He's willing to lose his lover-wife marriage over a high school friendship/relationship he holds on a pedestal. I couldn't stay in this marriage. He never intended for you to know any of this information, which is shady as F. I'd bet a large sum that if you divorce him and Pokey would rekindle things. Yeah, unfortunately, I am seeing that as well. At first, I was like, oh, it's just some innocent friendship. Like, yeah, they have a past together, but like they should still be able to be friends. Maybe like be less of friends, don't hang out as much, don't see each other as much. But now I'm like, no, this man is pissing me the fuck off. Get out of here. That's really annoying. Okay, we're going to move on to the advice segment of this episode. Okay, we're finally doing it because I don't know why the last few times I haven't. I don't know why. I have no excuse for you. But if you ever want advice, the link is below. It's a Google form. And just leave me as much detail as possible for whatever advice you're asking for, and I will get to it as soon as possible. Beep. Leave your message after the tone. Okay, anyways. All right. This question says, "Hi, Jamie. This is a really embarrassing question. And if it's too much information than what you're comfortable sharing, I totally understand if you leave this question off the pod. But, anyways, I was wondering if you would share any advice on finishing. I've been sexually active with my boyfriend of 2.5 years for around 2 years now. I never masturbated before him, and I've only recently bought my first vibrator in the past few weeks. We're long distance, so thought that it's a good time to buy one, as any. I have never finished. Not with my boyfriend, not alone. I feel like something is wrong with me. I used to fake finishing with my boyfriend but stopped a few months ago, and I finally admitted to him that I have never actually finished throughout our entire relationship. He was upset, but luckily we both handle conflict really well, so we moved on. However, it doesn't change the horrible, frustrating tension and pressure that has been put on to having sex. Part of me wishes I never stopped faking it because it just feels so stressful now. Either my boyfriend tries really hard and gets increasingly frustrated, or he gives up sooner because he knows it's not going to happen anyways. We aren't currently having sex because I'm at uni, but I'm going back for spring break in 2 weeks. I thought buying a vibrator would help because I could figure it out alone. I could do it without sorry. I could do it with him, but I haven't figured it out. It definitely feels good, but not good enough or for long enough to actually do anything. Help me. Okay. I actually do feel comfortable talking about this stuff. Like, I'm pretty open about this and have always been. Like, I don't really feel that unless it's like talking to my dad about it. Like, no, I won't do that. But so, dad, if you're listening, don't click out, please, because I don't want you to hear me talk about this. It's weird. But yeah, I don't feel like this is weird at all. And I feel like I have good experience with this because I was sexually active for, let me see. How long was I sexually active by the time I would say 5 or 6 years I was having sex and I was like hooking up with people and never, ever, ever, ever once did I finish until I think, oh God, when I was with my ex boyfriend, we had been together probably for a year or two until I actually ended up finishing. And I think that was just because the nature, like, of obviously when you're in a relationship, like, I don't know if you guys know, like, guys just have such high, and especially at that age, like, it's such a high sex drive, and I didn't. And especially because what is my motivation for wanting to, like, have sex, especially when it doesn't feel good to me. So yeah, I don't think I finished until I was like a sophomore or junior in college for the first time ever. And it was like, it was crazy. I was like, I was pretty much set on the fact that that's just never going to happen for me, and that maybe I just can't do that because I do know how hard it is for women, and everyone's different down there. Like, everyone's coochie is different. Some people can finish so easy, and some people they have a harder time doing it. So, there are multiple different ways that you can have an orgasm if you didn't know. And not everyone can have all of them, if that makes sense. So, like, some girls can have an orgasm just from like outside stimulation, like with your clitoris. And sorry if you feel uncomfortable that I'm talking about this, but we're close, right? We're all close here, so it's fine. But obviously you don't have to listen if you don't want to hear me talk about coochies and stuff. So, love you. But yeah. So there's like, and don't quote me on this because I'm not like 100% sure. I haven't really researched it in a while, but when I was like trying to figure things out, I was researching a lot. And I know that there's like an outside stimulation that you can finish. And I think some people can finish just from like penetration. And then some people can finish by doing both at the same time, which is me. I am outside and inside. And that's like the only way that I can finish. So I would say definitely like trying. Okay, also, first of all, have a talk with your boyfriend and like let him know, please, to like not be frustrated and just let you figure it out, because obviously it's just as frustrating as it's more frustrating for you that you like can't, because yeah, I can understand how it's frustrating for him as well, but this is also your body, and like not knowing how to do something with your body or not knowing your body, especially like in a sexual way, can be so frustrating. And just let him like tell him to just have grace with you and like let you figure it out, and don't have him feel so pressured. Also, usually when I first was able to finish, I was always had to be like in control, because obviously like you know what feels best, and sometimes most of the time the guy doesn't. So I feel like what I would do is like you try to be in control when you guys are sleeping together, which you said you guys aren't really right now, but when you guys do, I would say you try to be in control and you try to like move around and see how it feels. And it's hard because I obviously don't know your body either. So like I don't know which one you would be if you're inside, outside, or both. You know what I mean? So, but I would say when you're by yourself and you're not sleeping with him, try like as whenever you can and whenever you have free time to like be alone and like actually take time to do this. I would definitely use your vibrator and I would try to do like the outside plus the inside at the same time. Does that make sense? I'm pretty sure it makes sense, but I feel like it's kind of hard to explain unless like you can look it up though too. You can look up like how on because I feel like that might be the problem here because usually when it's hard for a woman to finish, that's usually what it is. It's usually like they need both stimulation. Why am I saying simulation? They need both stimulated at the same time. I'm gonna recommend something from that I got years ago. It's called a butterfly kiss, and it's from Adam and Eve. Not sponsored, but I bought this years ago when the Frenemies pod with Trisha and Ethan Klein, they had like an Adam and Eve sponsorship and it was like a 50% off and you can probably find so many like I'm sure Trisha or maybe even him or maybe Tana, I don't know. I'm sure one of them had like a discount code, but it was literally 50% off and like free shipping that I got this. I got it for so cheap, but it's like it stimulates the outside and the inside at the same time. I think you should try that. And then once you try that and once you do end up finishing, it's going to be so much easier for you to like know how to do it in the future with your boyfriend, by yourself. Like you're just going to know your body so much better and it gets so much easier over time. Also, I would recommend I'm pretty sure you said this, but using the vibrator that you got with your boyfriend as well. And yeah, I'm trying to think of if I missed anything because obviously like it's hard and it's frustrating, but I think that you can get there. I really do. I like wish that I could like chat with you about this a little bit more just so that I could know if I'm missing anything, but I really want you to like update and let me know. And if obviously I'm not like you don't have to buy the butterfly kiss, but it is like an easy tool for inside and outside stimulation, not a simulation, stimulation. And if not, then you can just use like your vibrator on the outside and your fingers on the inside and try it that way. I've never given sex advice on here before. Oh my god, I feel like call her daddy right now. But yeah, let me know if that helps. I really hope that helps because I know how frustrating that is, and I was like so annoyed when that was a thing because I was like, wow, so sex is just never gonna be enjoyable for me, and I'm like a 21-year-old, and I still have never finished, and like, why do I want to ever have sex ever again? Like, I could be celibate for the rest of my life and not care because like, why would I want to when nothing happens for me, you know? And I'm sure I feel like a lot of women can actually relate to that because I know that a lot of women struggle with that. And it can be so frustrating, especially because, like, just the opposite sex drive that men and women already have. And then on top of that, if it's not feeling good for you, then you just don't have any motivation to ever want to have sex ever in your life. I hope that helps, okay? So I think that's it. If I'm missing anything and I think of anything, I'm going to update in the next episode because I want to like help you as much as possible. Like I'm so determined right now because I went through the same experience and it's so annoying. It's literally so annoying. So just know that you're not alone. A lot of women are like that. A lot of women, like, it takes a long time and it takes like a good amount of practice and a good amount of like learning about your body to figure out what's going on down there. But I hope that helps and please keep me updated genuinely. Like I really want to know if any of these tips help you or if you find anything that helps you at all because I'm sure just like so many people can say that they relate to what you're asking about. So I love you guys so much and thanks so much for asking all the advice questions. I love to hear about anything that's going on in your lives and I like to be able to put my little 2 cents in or 2 pence in as the Britons What? Is that what they're called? Britons? British people? Are they called Britons? Or am I total English people? I don't know. Am I making that up? Britons? I don't know. But anyways, I love you guys. Love you so much. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.